Okay, in this video, I'm going to talk more about QuickBooks using OnePlace with QuickBooks Online. So in the previous video, which is called Overview of QuickBooks Online Integration with OnePlace, I went over kind of the high level, big picture of how the two work together and how to open up the QuickBooks Online Sync Center and how to turn it on and how to automatically flag the check boxes on these types of records when you add them and so forth. So in this video, I would like to cover more details about how to prepare QuickBooks Online for use with OnePlace. So in the previous video, I showed you this knowledge base article, QuickBooks Online, how to set up sync and use with OnePlace. And I covered the big picture, and I covered how to know what to do in OnePlace versus what to do in QuickBooks and so forth. And here's a kind of a summary again. This time I'd like to kind of pick up where I left off and cover in more detail how to set it up. And we'll start with which version to use. So as it mentions here, OnePlace does not work with any of the downloadable desktop versions of QuickBooks. It doesn't work with any of the older versions of QuickBooks. It only works with the online version of QuickBooks, and there's multiple versions. So let me just click on where it says here QuickBooks pricing, quickbooks.intuit.com/pricing. So this will give you kind of a side-by-side comparison of the versions. Now, if you are using OnePlace and you're not selling inventory, you're mainly a service-based business, then you can use it with these Simple Start or Essentials versions. You can decide which list looks like a better fit for your business. I think this is one version or one user as opposed to three users and paying bills. And so probably Essentials is going to be the minimum that you're going to want to select. Now, if you are selling inventory in your main business, and we're really good at wholesale distribution, so if you're using OneSource as a wholesale distribution type company in auto body supply, plumbing, electrical, whatever, you're probably going to want to select the Plus version. Now, you can compare the two and see which one fits better for you, but the Advanced is more than double the cost, and these are the things you get. And so again, you can decide, but you're probably going to be fine with the Plus version. So once you have a new QuickBooks Online version created, now maybe you already have it. Maybe you've come to OneSource and you want to use OnePlace along with your existing version of QuickBooks Online. And if so, a lot of what I'm going to tell you might already be done for you. But if you're new to QuickBooks Online, you've just created a new account and it's pretty blank, then I want to explain some of the things you want to do to set it up to be ready to use with OnePlace. If I come over here to the dashboard, I've got this QuickBooks Online Sync Center set up. You'll notice that these things need to be set up. And in order to get these things, in order to have these in these drop-down lists, you have to set them up in QuickBooks Online. So that's kind of the big picture. What I'm moving toward is how to have these drop-down lists have values in them to set up as defaults. And I'll explain those more as we go on. So going back over to the KBA, this preparing QuickBooks Online for syncing with OnePlace. The first thing we have to do is set up your chart of accounts in QuickBooks Online if you don't already have one. So it explains how to do that. You log into QuickBooks, and I'll just go ahead and close this pricing one down. We log in, and down here on the accounting chart of accounts, this gives you your chart of accounts. Now I have a bunch I've set up, and I know if I remember correctly, it's been years ago when I first set this up, but I believe there was a default chart of accounts that came into it when I first set up QuickBooks. I was able to pick a company type that was closest to what I wanted, and hopefully I picked wholesale, but I don't recall what I picked, but you can create new, by clicking the new button, you can create new accounts, or you can come and you can right click on these and click edit. You can change the names if you want them to fit more closely to what you want. You just change the ones that are there if there's already one in place. So as this KBA explains, these are the types of accounts that are used with 1place. Now you're going to have a bunch of additional accounts for your expenses in particular, maybe for some of your liabilities like loans you have or things like that. But these are the only ones that you have to have that work alongside or with 1place. An accounts receivable account for when you create 1place invoices, inventory accounts. When you create an invoice and you sell an item, we need to be able to deduct your inventory level. When you create an invoice or even a sales order and you accept a payment, we need to put that into an account called undeposited funds. When you receive a PO, there's an option to automatically create an AP bill in QuickBooks Online to pay that PO. And so we need to have the accounts payable account. Same thing if you receive a payment on a sales order, we need to have a place to deposit that money, not just into an undeposited funds, but also instead of the accounts receivable, we want to put that money in a special liability accounts called sales order deposits, because we haven't actually earned the money. If we collect money on a sales order before we invoice it and deliver it, we have to keep track of that money as a liability until we actually convert that order into an invoice. When you create 1place invoices, we need to track our sales, and you can have more than one sales account, but there's just one that's going to be used as the default in case you don't change it. And then a cost of goods accounts, same thing. When you have your invoice, when you sell items on an invoice, if they're tangible items, that's when we have to deduct the level of your inventory value and increase your expense related to your cost of goods, so that you will have sales minus your cost of goods will give you a net profit. Gross sales will have a gross profit, I should say. So to do those, you just come over here and you come over to the accounting chart of accounts. You're going to find ones that are equal to those and just go and edit. Or if there's not one here, click new. In either case, you get this pop-up, and we've spelled out here the account type, the detail type, the account name. We've spelled those: account type, detail type, account name. We've spelled those out in detail of how you need to set those up. So in the case of like a bank account, and I don't recall if we put a bank account on here, you don't technically have to have a bank account to work with 1place, but you do want to have bank accounts, which we've mentioned down here. So anyways, to set up an account, you just click the new, and then you start following the instructions on which type and which sub and detail type, which I really call kind of a subtype. And then you give it a name and you click save and close. So that's all there is to setting up these accounts. On each of these, you find one that's equivalent to it, or you click new and add a new one. Setting up payment terms. When you create an invoice in 1place, we're going to want the payment terms to automatically fill in. We're going to want those payment terms to be on the customer account as well. Same thing with payment methods. So you're going to come over to here and click the gear, and you'll go to all lists. And there on this screen, you can set up the payment methods like cash or check, and the terms. Maybe it's COD, maybe it's net 7, net 15, net 30, whatever you want the terms to be. Now, one of the things that I want to stress, and the reason we talk about preparing QuickBooks Online for use with 1place, when you have a 1place account and you have a QuickBooks Online account, you're probably going to want to immediately connect them together. And my very big warning on that, or my recommendation is to not immediately connect them together. And the reason that is because as you're getting ready to use OnePlace and we're importing data and you're entering test data and you're doing things, if and when you sync things into QuickBooks, there is no getting them out of QuickBooks. For example, I have this thing called test. Maybe I don't want that. Well, there is no way in QuickBooks Online to delete it. It's either edit it, leave it alone, or make it inactive, but it stays there, quote unquote, forever. And so when you add customers, vendors, items, and these types of other types of lists, you can delete invoices and purchase orders and payments, but you cannot delete the foundational records like the customers, the items, the vendors, and these types of lists, the GL accounts. They're there for good. So we recommend getting things set up and making sure the data you have in one place is what you want it to be before you connect the two together. So I really want to stress that. It's okay to set up QuickBooks Online. It's okay to set up OnePlace, but don't connect them together until right before you go live, or maybe even the day or day after you go live. We want to make sure that you're good with the data, because in OnePlace, you can delete things. You can delete virtually anything if you have the rights. And if you cannot, you can come to us, OneSource, the company that supports and creates, and we're the creator of OnePlace. You can come to us and we can get to the data and delete it if we have to. But in the case of QuickBooks Online, it's there for good. So hold off on connecting. That's why we don't even put the connection how-tos until you get all of this done. If you have more than one location, if you have multiple warehouses, then you are going to want to go to the locations and set up a warehouse for each of those. Other things, create your bank accounts. When you create your bank accounts, it's just like anything else. You're just going to go to your accounting and create a new account, the bank account as the type. And then we also recommend, we'll have a separate KBA on this, but connect your account to your online banking if you want to automatically download your checks, your deposits, your adjustments. It's a huge, huge time saver. So that's what this is stuff. Other things you can do before. There's going to be a separate KBA. There is a separate KBA, and there will be a separate training video on how to set up your beginning balances to get your balance sheet to what it needs to be before you start using OnePlace. Actually, you can actually start using OnePlace, but you don't want to. This is something you can do before or after, but we recommend you doing it before, so that as you begin to add invoices and receive POs, it doesn't get harder and harder to reconcile. How to connect OnePlace to QuickBooks Online. So we covered that a little bit in the last video, but when you first come here, you're going to see this QuickBooks Online Sync Center in OnePlace. So you'll click on Connect. And in my case, because I've already put in the username and the password, it's just going to autofill in my password. So in this case, XYZ, next. Normally it would ask me for a password, the same password that I use to log into QuickBooks Online. You would type that in. In this case, mine's already in there, so it's not asking for it. I'll click Connect. And so that's how you know if it's connected, is it's going to show as connected if it is connected with the ability to disconnect, or you'll see that other screen, the one that looks like this. What if you want to hide this syncing center from other users. And then we recommend you do hide that from most users. We just want the users who are going to be using QuickBooks Online to have that connection. So all you do there, you come over to the gear and click on users. And for each user, and what you're going to, when you set up users, normally you're going to have a type of a user. Like let's say Rochelle is a salesperson. She's listed as an admin, but if I had her set up as a salesperson, then if I added another user that I know was a salesperson, I could just use Rochelle's as kind of a template. And so one part of that, so for instance, if I set or remove the viewing and the ability to add new or edit and print, delete records, in this case, if I do that for QuickBooks Online, then whenever I set up new users and I base it on another user that doesn't have those rights, it will copy that over and it will remove those rights. So in this case, if I go ahead and do that, actually I want to do that. I'm logged in as demo user. You can see that top right corner. So I'm just going to change this on QuickBooks Online. I'll just remove those. It might just be the view and I don't remember, but excuse me. So if I go ahead and I'm logged in as demo user, I no longer have those rights. I'm going to refresh without having to log out and log back in. And now you will see that that is gone. I no longer have the ability to get into that sync center, and QuickBooks will almost be like it doesn't exist to me, other than those check boxes you'll see when you add new records. I already showed you how to open the sync center, how to turn it on and off. We talked in the first video about if you want to stop integration completely, you can either disconnect or you can just uncheck this. Talked about these in the previous video. Now we were talking about these. So this explains each of these. You want to have a default account set up for the type. If you are selling inventory as a business, you want to have inventory as your default. If you're mainly a service business, you want to have service as the default. I will go back into my demo user real quick here. And I'm going to go back to my module security, turn those back on so I can actually be on the screen. Refresh that. And now I have the sync button back. Okay, so we were talking about these. So default inventory if you sell inventory, otherwise you can make it service. Sales account, and this is going to be an income account. And these are only showing accounts that are set up as sales accounts. That's why it's important to get the right account, because to keep your balance sheet correct, we have to have the right types of accounts. So cost of goods sold account. In this case, I have more than one of those. Inventory asset account. This is going to be an actual asset account, not a sales account, not a cost of good. It's going to be on your balance sheet as an asset. Undeposited funds, you'll have a separate account you'll set up for that. Accounts receivable, all of these are asset accounts. Your default payment method, your default payment terms. So once you get all these set up, then when you create new customers, new items, new purchase orders, that will make sure the proper QuickBooks Online account gets set up for those. Now, in a just a little bit later version, there's going to be right below this undeposited funds account is going to be a sales order deposit account. There's also going to be a default accounts payable account. Those two are not showing here. Those will be on here. I think I already have them listed here if I'm not mistaken. Accounts payable and your sales order deposits. Those are ones that are going to be on that screen that are not there at the moment. Okay. The last thing I will mention is if you are if you are an existing QuickBooks Online user and you're going to start using OnePlace, and if you're bringing data in to OnePlace from some other account you were using along with QuickBooks before, then we still want to get these synced properly. So when you do the importing, which is a whole separate topic and a separate set of training videos, you're going to have the option to have like a payment method as one of the columns. Like if you have a customer, let's say you're going to import customers, you have the customer name, you have the first name, the last name, the address, the city, the state. Well, one of the columns is going to be the payment method and the payment terms. And you're going to need to make sure that on that Excel file that you're going to be importing into OnePlace has one of these set names. Now, the other alternative, instead of having the set name, is you can have the QuickBooks ID. If I click download here, this will show me all of those from QuickBooks. And this will show me the account name, and it will show me the ID. In this case, here is the description. But if you just put this ID on that Excel file that you're importing for customers, that will, or in this case, maybe you're importing some items. Well, if you want to get the proper sales account, the proper cost of goods sold account, the proper inventory account, you'll just use these QBO list IDs to link those items that you import into OnePlace to make them sync up with the proper GL accounts in QuickBooks Online. So you have the two options. Copy these identical with the exact spaces and dashes and everything, or just fill in one of these numbers. Sometimes this is a little more exact, but it's a little more complicated, so you can do it either way. So that is the end of this video. Let's see if I have anything else I'm forgetting here. I already talked about this list IDs. So that's it. Hopefully this is understandable and helpful, and I do hope you have a great day.